Good evening. Welcome back, Heat Seekers. Are you looking for some wins in week 8? Was week 7 maybe not your best friend? Thank you guys for hanging out with us. Mr. Sullivan, what's going on in the Plan A tier? What are the priority guys we need to go after tonight?
There's a few, but before we get into that, I just want to mention we rank and tier these individuals based on players that are rostered in 65% or less of two of the three formats that we look at. So we measure ESPN, Yahoo, and Sleeper. If there is a player that is rostered at under 65 on two of them, they qualify for our list. But with that being said, there are some guys that aren't going to be on this tier list that I think you guys should all take a look at in your leagues. So we saw Ernest Johnson go off on Thursday night. Jerry Jeudy looks like he's coming back. You should be taking a look to see if he's available in your league. Same as Jarvis Landry, who did return on Thursday. Michael Carter is another guy that we like that is a little bit over that roster threshold for us. And Michael Thomas, potentially coming back soon for the New Orleans Saints. Those guys are guys that we think that you should take a look at that we won't be talking about tonight. With that being said, though, Bradley, in the Plan A tier, we have Michael Gallup, Rashod Bateman, Kenneth Gainwell, Kenyan Drake, and Khalil Herbert.
That's an interesting list. That is a lot of guys that are opportunistic right now, and then one guy coming back from injury. So what do you make of this list? Who are you most excited about here?
Probably the most excited about Rashod Bateman just based on his usage in that Baltimore offense. With that being said, some injuries today get two of these guys up here. So potentially Miles Sanders, we don't know exactly what happened to him. He left early today. That makes Kenneth Gainwell of a heck of a lot more relevant. And Josh Jacobs was also lost, I believe, in the second quarter of that game. And that makes Kenyan Drake a heck of a lot more relevant. So Michael Gallup coming back from injury, we all want a part of that Dallas offense. So I think that he is certainly someone that you should go and take a look for. And Khalil Herbert, pardon me, holy cow. This kid's something in the two games that he's played. He just ran for 100 yards on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I don't even know when the last time somebody did that. I shudder to think what the Chicago Bears would look like right now without Herbert.
You gotta love 6th-round running backs, man. Him and Mitchell, they've been doing pretty well so far for themselves. So if you can't get any of these guys, or maybe you lose out on them because you don't have enough fab, who's our next tier of guys that maybe you could target to get you some value?
So we got a small group here. It's CJ Uzomah, Russell Gage, and Darius Slayton. So Russell Gage has just come back from injury off of their Atlanta's bye week and was immediately involved in that offense. Looks like the 2A or 2B to Kyle Pitts in that offense with Calvin Ridley. So he's definitely someone in an offense that's throwing as much as Atlanta will be for the remainder of the season, someone to target. CJ Uzomah just, I don't know, man. This guy just seems to continue to put up some monster numbers. Burrow likes him. That offense seems to be rolling. That team is in general is rolling to my surprise, but he looks really darn good. And Darius Slayton's kind of like last man standing, right? Like it's him, it's Dante Pettis, and a few other insert no-name running back or wide receiver here for the Giants because they're all injured. So I think all three of those guys are absolutely worth an ad off of the waiver wire this week.
Yeah, and I guess my question to flip back to you, because I can already hear people thinking it now, is Uzomah going to be able to keep up the production he's been having these last few weeks? Because the Cincy offense really hadn't been favorable for a tight end for a while now. We haven't really seen a fantasy relevant tight end in this offense for a few seasons. So he's almost being targeted like kind of the third-ish option when Burrow's doing his reads.
So do I expect that? Absolutely not. But T. Higgins is back in that offense, and it seems like Tyler Boyd has fallen off, and CJ Uzomah's become the third wide receiver in that offense. So do I think that he's going to be a top 12 tight end? Maybe, but I do think you're probably right. He's probably more of that 4 or 5 for 40 or 50. But hey, 8 or 9 points out of your tight end, even if it's picking them up to help you get through bye weeks, that's darn near a top 12 tight end.
So rounding it out, Plan C. Plan A wasn't in the cards. Plan B, you maybe missed out on. What's the next best thing after that?
Well, it's all the guys we see that are still there. So it is the Allen Lazards, the Boston Scotts, the Brandon Boldens, and so on. I guess if we're talking about who are we going to prioritize out of this one, I think there's a couple of guys that are interesting to start to talk about. So Boston Scott is somewhat relative, is probably a desperation flex play with Miles Sanders out of the lineup. If Miles Sanders is not going to miss any time, I don't think Boston Scott's rosterable. Brandon Bolden and Taylor, they cancel each other out, in my opinion. And Taylor fell in the end zone twice today, which made his stat line look really good. Personally, not a guy that I would be targeting anytime going soon. PJ Walker is interesting because Sam Darnold got benched today, and PJ Walker didn't come in exactly light the world on fire, but he adds an element to that offense that Darnold kind of sort of does, and that's the rushing upside. Now, Darnold's done well scoring rushing touchdowns, but Walker can run all over the field. So if you're in a super flex league and maybe you have Sam Darnold on your roster, or you've been limping along, you've lost Russell Wilson, or a situation such as that, he might be worth a little bit of a dart throw to get you through.
Before I get into what I do and don't like about this group, I want to ask, seeing as we talked about PJ Walker in Carolina, we've been hearing the rumblings potentially with the November 2nd trade deadline coming in the NFL. Deshaun Watson could be on the move. Maybe because of the benching of Darnold, Carolina's in play, Miami's in play, maybe nobody's in play, and it's just a smokescreen. If you're a fantasy owner, do you get in a week or two early and pick up Deshaun Watson, hoping that you get what Deshaun Watson was?
I think if I needed to rely on him, I'm in trouble. But if he's a luxury addition to my roster, then I like it. So if I'm 6-1 or 7-0 or even 5-2 and I have a solid quarterback, I might bring him in and see what happens. Just take a little bit of a stab there. If I'm a need to win every week kind of fantasy manager, I don't think he makes any sense for your lineup because A, we don't know if he's going to be traded. B, we don't know. I don't even know if he's practicing. I don't know what kind of shape he's in. But it's still Deshaun Watson, and that guy pretty much can probably roll out of bed and get you 15 fantasy points no matter where he is. He's definitely someone that I think you should consider. I don't think I would prioritize him, and I don't think I would add him if I needed some help now.
Absolutely. So in one QB, I definitely wouldn't touch him. I wouldn't touch a quarterback unless you needed to stream somebody, and it isn't going to be PJ Walker. I'm not biting on that just yet because back in the day, and even Matt Rule said in his press conference, back in the day before all of this, quarterbacks used to get sat when they're struggling and having a rough time, and they'd come back and be fine. So is he playing kind of old school football mentality there and benching Darnold for a little bit, letting him get out of the game and wrap his head around what happened? I don't know. And obviously, I'm not the coach of the Panthers.
And we only have 2 teams on bye next week, Baltimore and Las Vegas. It's not like the bye-nado that we just went through with 6 or 7 teams and craziness all over the place.
Yeah. So if I'm in the plan C tier, Kaliff Raymond continues to get targeted, but then there'll be weeks where he gives you nothing. So you have to be careful. He would be one that I would think about. I'm still leaning Hunter Henry, even though Jonnu Smith did show up to play today and got some action. Other than that, it's hard to trust this category.
And sorry, Jonnu left early with a shoulder. So
yes, that's what it was. It was shoulder. And it's hard to trust Tonyan. If I can't get an A plan B, I try to trade.
Yeah, I believe Samaje was one big 65-yard play, made his day today. Another guy that I should have mentioned earlier that I didn't is Rashaad Penny. So he's coming back off of IR tomorrow night for Seattle. Alex Collins is banged up. So Rashaad Penny could slide into that top running back role for the Seahawks with Chris Carson on IR. So take a look and see where he's at roster-wise in your league and pay attention tomorrow night because he might be a guy Tuesday you're going to slot in there as he might potentially move up into the plan B or even A, depending on how that game plays out on Monday night.
Yeah, as long as he's healthy. That's the thing we've seen for years now with him is it just hasn't been able to stay on the field. When he's on the field, he's electric. And the big playability's there for sure. So if he's healthy and good to go, roster him. It doesn't hurt because Seattle's top running back is very fantasy relevant. We've seen it with Alex Collins. Guy hadn't played football in however many years, and then all of a sudden came back and was relevant. There you go. Seattle, thank you.
Yes, sir.
So that's it, people. These are your tiers for the week. As always, comment below if you need some help. Find us over on Discord. Find us over on rotoheat.com. Smash that like button, and we'll see you guys later.